What's up, folks? It's your boy Dino, aka your Solid Fives,
Nikki T, Bay Area Creeping the Rail,
and we are
and
the
we
Boo
are the
Crew.
Boo Crew.
So this week we got a special guest. We have David Sayers.
David Slayers, welcome.
Sayers.
Welcome. All the way
Also,
from the UK.
yeah.
Yep, all the way from the UK. Yes. Hi. Nice to be here.
So for those, he is more recently on Squid Games. So that's one
Season
of
3,
the-
right?
Yeah.
Season 3 of Squid Game. Yes, I am the VIP. I'm Richard, the VIP.
Okay.
And yeah, that's a really exciting thing that's happened quite recently. I say quite recently. It was filmed quite a while ago, but yeah, just come out. So very exciting.
Well, before we get into that, let's start a little bit about yourself. Like what inspired you to get into like what you're doing? Like tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I've been an actor now for about over 20 years. And I suppose like most actors, you get inspired by things you watch when you grow up. So my first sort of recollections of watching things was James Bond. I'm British, so of course I love James Bond. Who doesn't?
Right.
I see that. I see James Bond stuff on your Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. It's there. Yeah, grew up watching James Bond. Wanted to be James Bond. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but wanted it anyway. Oh, it might happen. Who knows? We don't know who the next one is yet. So maybe it's going to be me. There you go. You got an exclusive. Then just British TV like Doctor Who, which you can see behind me here. I'm a Doctor Who fan. And also when it came to like things like horror, it was we had sort of late night every Friday night. There was like a late night double bill of horror films on the BBC channels when I was growing up, and so we had things like Hammer horror films, Amicus films, those type of things, where I really sort of got into horror that way, and that was sort of my introduction basically into film and that, but also acting in general. Because of that, I just wanted to really go into a world where I could be part of those things.
Yeah.
So I see that you've been doing a lot of theater, or you've had done a lot of theater. So is that kind of your segue into or starting acting and then going into professional acting?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, when it comes to I don't know how it is in America, so forth there, but when it comes to sort of the training in England, it's very much you sort of do your training, and it's mostly tailored, or it has been in the past, tailored towards theatre. That's the thing. And so when you come out of there, theatre's the sort of thing that's readily available for you to jump into and learn on the job that way. And then I think now when it comes to drama schools, they're focusing a little bit more on the film and television aspect of it. But certainly when I was there, theatre was anything they were training you to do. So when you came out, that was what you experienced for, and that's what you jumped into. So I did a lot of theatre for a long time, and I was very, very scared of doing film and TV stuff. It was a different type of approach. I couldn't really get my head around it. So for a long time, I wasn't doing a lot of that. And it's only been the last 5-6 years or so that I've really embraced that a lot more and done a lot more film and TV.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that because each person that we talk to, especially from the UK, they all talk about going to drama school and and sort of that path to. But in America, it's just different. You don't have to necessarily do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a thing here. Well, they're probably there's it's always been things where there's been very famous actors who didn't go to drama school. Michael Gambon, Ian McKellen, all those ones. They didn't go to drama school. They got into the reps, and managed to do rep theatre and do it that way. That doesn't exist anymore for us to embrace. So we've got to go the drama school route in the UK. But that's what we do.
Right on.
Yeah. So is that also where you met your wife? Because I saw that like you guys did a lot of stuff together and.
Yeah, we met at drama school. She was at the same drama school I was at. We got together then. She then left that drama school. It wasn't wasn't for her. But she then went to another drama school. She went to Central, which was a very very popular drama school.
Okay.
And she did a 3-year course there where she was training with, well, people in her year were like Andrew Garfield, people like that. So she was training with them. So I got to sort of see her experience of drama school through her eyes, really, with that. So that was cool just to see her do that, really. And she was an actor for a while. She's not doing that anymore now. She's now working in horticulture. She works at Battersea Power Station, actually. She works there. So yeah, she stepped away from it, but I'm still fighting the good fight.
All right. And so how was that experience? Yeah, but I mean, in a good, it's probably a good. So how was that experience working with her for so many projects? I know you guys did some shorts, and then you did some commercials and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, it was great. I mean, cause we've always worked well together, and I think I wish I could still be working with her and doing more things, really, because we work really well together. Even at drama school, we were put into a play together straight away. That's how we sort of initially met. So it was really nice to have that experience. And we just bounced stuff well off each other all the time. And she's there still to help me now. I mean, every time I've got a self-tape to do and things like that. As much as it might drive her crazy, she's the one there behind the camera who's reading the lines to me and supporting me. So yeah, that's cool.
Because I saw you guys in Cross Lines, and I thought it was hysterical. I mean, that's so good.
That was during lockdown. So I think that was a point during lockdown where we were someone approached us about this thing, Cross Lines, to do this sort of comedy sort of sketch thing there, and it was just something to really, like everyone, we were sort of looking for things to do, and it was a great opportunity to do something ourselves. And so we enjoyed lockdown, the time we could spend together and just doing things together, and that was one of the really nice things about it.
You got Cross Lines, and we also saw your movie Trapped as well.
Yeah,
we thought that was really good, and the ending had me going. I was like, this whole time this guy's been sitting there fucking with this rat, and it's been an event this whole time. So tell us more about that. How was filming that? How was getting the equipment to do that? Did you have a budget or something? Because it looked like it was well made for a short film.
It was really well made for a short film. I've done a lot of short films over the last few years, and I really enjoy just working with different crews and with different experience and just getting in there and being involved. But that was so slick. I was like amazed by what they could do. They got the studio there. They built this entire set to work in, to control the entire space from different angles, take out different walls, to do things. So they had real great control of it, and it looked brilliant. And what they had in mind for just the special effects there as well. I've always said horror film wise, I always wanted to do a zombie film. Personally, I wanted to be the zombie. I want to have the sort of the things hang off it. But if I can't be the zombie, I'll be the survivor. That's fine. But yeah, it was. I mean, also working with rats as well. I'd never worked with rats before, and they had these people come in there. These two rats I was working with, because if one got tired, no one wants to take its place. And they were the cutest things in the world. They had to, at one point, there had to be, one licking my fingers to sort of wake me up, and they were just putting like pate on my fingers, so the rat would go up there and just, lick my fingers. It was the cutest thing ever. So I'm now a big fan of rats. So
awesome.
Yeah, I saw your picture online, and you were holding both of them, and I was like, "That's so cool." I have a friend that had a couple rats too, and they lived for a while too, and but she kept really good care of them, and they were so friendly. And,
Rats are friendly. They're nice pests. I had a friend too that had a couple, but it's all about how you train your animals. You raise the animals right, you're gonna have wonderful animals. No matter what
they get a bad deal, rats. It's not their fault. They're lovely, really.
They do get a bad rap, yeah. They really do. I feel bad for him.
They just die instantly.
So I also noticed too that you like to draw art. And I've seen some of your drawings. I believe they're yours, and I think they're pretty cool because I also like to draw. I've been drawing art for a long time, and I would love to hear your insight about what got you into being an artist. What inspires you. When you're drawing your drawings.
I mean, again, in terms of drawing, it was one of those things that during the pandemic we all had to find things to keep ourselves occupied.
Yeah.
And that was just one of these things I thought, what, I fancy just going back to sort of sketching and drawing and just, I'd done it in school. It was so long ago. And I thought I want to sort of just have something to occupy myself with. Let's try this. And I really got into it. Yeah. I really just loved. And I just then thought, well, I really like drawing people. That's the thing. It wasn't drawing landscapes or still lifes or that type of thing there. That didn't really interest me, but people I find fascinating to draw because I just find especially their faces, the smallest little thing you just do slightly differently, it can just change someone so much. You've got to be so accurate with what you're there doing. And so I was just then going, well, what can I draw, and I was finding all these pictures, that I always liked, of photos of people, celebrities, but friends as well, and just really embracing, just finding all these interesting things to draw. And when it came to celebrities and things like that, I tended to veer again towards things that I was familiar with, things that I watched. So it would be, James Bond, I'd draw Roger Moore. Or if it was like Hammer Horror, okay, well, let's draw a few of those ones. Let's draw, some of those images. One of the earlier ones was American Werewolf in London. And the night, the one thing that stuck in me of him has always been that the nightmare sequence where he's running through the woods and he sees the hospital gurney. He's lying on there, and then he turns towards the camera, and it's that sort of monster sort of face that is there, and that's that's one of my favorite. Look, there you go, American Werewolf in London.
Right on.
There you go. So so I wanted to draw things like that were just visual images in my head that I just wanted to go with. So I mean, drawing wise, I really still enjoy doing it. I don't do it as much now as I did because I just don't have as much time. But it's something I always want to go back to and just keep drawing things. And I like to draw cards for friends, for birthdays and Christmas and things like that. I like to just, it's nice, I think, to be able to, if you've got a little bit of skill in something, just doing something like that, just to give something a bit special is always a nice thing to do.
Yes.
I forgot to ask you, just a little backtrack, but like during the theater, or when you're doing theater, did you ever have like a really funny theater story, like something that went tragically wrong, like somebody threw up on stage or something, or something crazy?
I mean, theatre-wise, I've probably been involved in most things that can go wrong, to be honest. I mean, to be honest, I just recently did a play, a new bit of writing about Eisenhower and about his mobile war room that was a sort of a train carriage that was travelling all around the UK and everything before I went over to Europe. And I was playing Eisenhower in that. And we didn't have a long rehearsal period. It was only about sort of 9-10 days of rehearsal, but it was a lot of script there. Really good script, but a lot to try and get in your head. And it got on fine in rehearsals, no problem at all. I got the script nailed. I was just rehearsal was absolutely fine. Came to the first performance, and I'm on stage all the time. And I started off fine, and then I sat down, talked to this other character that came on stage, and I totally forgot what I had to say, and I jumped about 10 pages. And I knew I jumped. I knew I'd done it. So I then had to backtrack. So I had to literally, after 10 pages, I had to then go, okay, I've got to then go back on track. I'll go back to what I've said before. I've got to get it back so it makes sense. So I then jumped back about 8 pages, which is fine. And then I jumped again, another 10 pages. And then I jumped back again. The whole thing was all out of order. It was all chaos. And I was just like, what am I doing? What am I doing? The poor actor I'm working with, the opposite, is obviously he must be terrified. What am I going to say next? And I came off stage at the interval and I said to him, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I completely was all over the place. And he was like, I didn't even notice. So, I mean, for him, it wasn't an issue at all. Thankfully, it was one of those plays where it's very conversational and we're talking about different subjects. So it didn't really matter that it was out of order, but it terrified the hell out of me. It really did. Right. So it happens. As long as you can keep going, the audience hopefully won't know. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Which usually they don't, right?
Yeah.
So I see you did a play called 600 Seconds, 70 Deadly Sins, where you played Sloth. Tell us about that. How was that role? How was the role playing Sloth? Because I I've seen the movie Seven, and I remember a Sloth, and I can't imagine like how that would go.
Well, thankfully, it was nothing like Seven. That would be a bit too intense. No, it was a nice sort of series of short plays. It's an evening basically of short plays that different writers had been basically given a different deadly sin to write about, and. So I think I was playing a few parts that evening, but my main sin was Sloth.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a fun part to play. It was set on top of a pedestal. One of those pedestals in Trafalgar Square, one of those sort of things there where you sort of, you got all the different statues there, and there's the spare one, the fourth one that's got nothing on that moment. But I was basically on that one there in my bed, not wanting to get on and do anything in life, and I'm being evicted from my pedestal. Really, that was the whole comedy aspect of the play. I was being evicted finally. Sloth was being evicted, so it was a nice fun. There's again a nice sort of 10-minute sort of little sketch thing there. Yeah. I worked with that company a few times, Spontaneous Productions, where I used to live near in Crystal Palace, and they were a lovely bunch of guys to work with. And they do a lot of new writing things there, so that was a nice fun one there to just do and get involved with.
Yeah, being evicted, that's hilarious. Like a time to move out.
Get your shit and get out.
Yeah. Time to go, Sloth.
So I was going through your catalog, and I saw Operation Mayfair. So I obviously great role, and I couldn't help but laugh like when you were dragging Kevin away because it's for some reason it looked like you were like a pissed off dad. You were just like get over here, and you're just like pulling him away. And I was like,
that was I mean that was my only experience so far of being involved in sort of a Bollywood production.
Yeah.
And that scene actually, the most interesting thing for that scene for me was that scene where it was filmed was a church in Kilburn in North London. And I recognised it when I went in there, and I looked at it and I researched it, and I realised it's the church. I don't know if you guys have seen Young Sherlock Holmes, the 80s film.
I haven't, no.
It's basically the very beginning. It's the first use of computer graphics where stained glass window basically comes to life and attacks someone, and it was filmed in that church in Kilburn. So that's how I recognise it from my 80s fandom. But it was weird doing that. I'd never done a Bollywood film before, and it was an odd experience because it was very clear that if you weren't a star of that, if you weren't the star of the film, then they didn't care about you. But if you were the star of that film, then nothing happened until the star was ready to work. And I've never been on a set like that before. Everything usually is like, the director's, ready, everyone else is ready, crew's ready, we're going. But this is like, we're waiting for the celebrities to be ready. And when they're ready, we'll finally work. Yeah. So that was really weird. And also they're
sitting around like twiddling your thumbs. You're just like,
well, a little bit of that, but also it's just that thing as well. It's that, because the whole thing is dubbed for international market, so they go over and do their live. None of the stars knew their lines at all, really, because they didn't need to. They had to say something approximate to what they had to say, but then it was all going to be overdubbed anyway. So it was a very odd experience to be part of something like that. And it wasn't the typical film set at all, but it was an interesting experience to do it. But I don't think yeah, I've never really watched the film back, to be honest. I have no great things about it, but there you go.
Yeah, I was it was just so weird because they kept going between like I don't know which language, dialect or whatever, but like that and English, and I was just like I'm just confused because they kept like mixing it in, and I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like the dub was just like weird. I don't know. It wasn't a bad movie. Like it was the story was good, and and then yeah, I just wanted to talk about that for a second. Uh,
Going back to Trap, you won Best Actor for the Hex After Doc Film Festival 2023 for Trap short film. How was that experience? And did you think that that was going to happen?
No, no, not at all. I mean, it's great when something like that happens, and that's the first time that's ever happened to me. I actually won 2 awards for that film, which was really nice. But yeah, it was. I mean, a lot of the time you don't know for sure when something's going to come out and what it's going to do, and even what your performance is going to be like in it when you finally see it.
Yeah.
And because Trapped was I was just so happy with the way it turned out, and I thought it just was effective, a really effective horror short. It was great then to be recognised for that. But it was, and then I got a little, I got a little plaque as well, which was sent through to me in the post, which was lovely. So it was my first sort of acting film award, and that's you don't really forget those things. So that's going to be that was really really nice to get that.
That's awesome. That's amazing. You deserve it. I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
You did a good job.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to see more of it. I was like, oh, it's already over. This sucks.
He's a good director. I mean, hopefully that director's going to do more and more stuff there because he really, I mean, a great crew. I mean, I think a director's only as good as their crew, and he had a great crew with him as well. But in the end, hopefully he does more because he was really. I've worked with a few. There's been a few directors I've worked with in the past, but I really hope they do more and more things, and he's definitely one of them.
Yeah, definitely. I hope so too. That'll be great. That'll be fantastic.
I'm a huge zombie person, so like I love zombie stuff. So I guess up to current, I saw that you As Nightfalls will be coming out at some point. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, As Night Falls, it's a really interesting one. It's directed by Leroy Kincaid, who's done I've done a previous horror film before. I think I got The Last Rite. But he really the way he works basically. It's a small team. It's a small crew. He likes to be very hand-on, do a lot of things himself, but he's got a really clear vision about what he wants to do. I think with this one, he had an idea. He wanted another film first, but then he realised actually I can fit something else in before this. I can do something in a contained space. I can really embrace those things that he loves. He very much is an 80s horror fan. He loves John Carpenter, that type of thing there. That's his sort of thing he aspires to, certainly for this film. And he wanted to really embrace that type of thing there. It was shot, funny enough, around where I'm living now in sort of the Kent area. And it really has the sort of it's got this things like it feels a bit like sort of A Quiet Place mixed with John Carpenter. It's got a real sort of nice vibe to it, and he's again a really good director. I hope he does loads more things as well because he's got a really good approach to it whole thing. And even when he was like we were getting ready to do takes of things, he would play music in the background to sort of get everyone in the mood for that type of scene. So usually sort of some sort of score of some kind, but some sort of thing there just to get you going for it. And I think it should be ready by the end, towards the end of the year. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what it does with that because it should be quite an effective horror film there, I think, which should work really nicely.
Yeah.
So when you're saying like a small crew, like how small are you saying? Because when we talked to Claire Cartwright, there was only like 5 people on set, and like they were like all doing like things together.
Yeah, I mean, he basically does it all himself. he basically knows what he wants to do, and his thing is that why I think his thing is why have so many other people there when I know I can do this quickly myself and get it done.
Yeah.
And it's not an arrogant thing, I think, on his part. I think it's just a case of he wants to get things done quickly and efficiently and move things along. There's a certain amount of time to get this, to get this stuff done.
Yeah.
So that was his approach to it. But it works really well for him. For a lot of other things I've done, I wouldn't think that he could do as much as he could do with that limited amount, but he can. So it's and because it was all contained, we were basically using sort of a warehouse sort of space for a lot of it. It was easy for him to sort of keep that sort of control. So it meant that he could move things along really, really fast. And I think that's the way he likes to do things: get things done really quickly, move it along, and get what he wants, move on to the next thing. And we were filming it, sort of December, January time, so it was a cold time of year as well. And so. Yeah, we wanted to basically make sure that we weren't wasting time, and it was nice to be an efficient set. Those things were happening, so that was good.
Yeah, I feel like because I mean, obviously, I've never been in film before or like worked on film, but like if I were to be like a director, I for sure like I have that vision where I'm just like I gotta do it this way. There's no and ifs or buts about it. But that's so I get that. I get like how it's contained and. Let's go a little bit back, just to Squid Games. I mean, like, so.
Yeah.
How did you get it? How? Okay, tell us what the hell happened. Like, how'd you go from short films to little films to this, and all of a sudden, boom, you hit a Netflix season 3 Squid Games elite casting. Role.
How did that happen? Oh, they obviously came looking for me. No, what it was weird. It was really weird. I mean, it was very odd. It actually, the casting breakdown for it, the actual audition thing, came through an independent casting website. It wasn't through my agent. It was simply saying that came through. I applied for something that at the time was going under the name First Man. It wasn't going on. Obviously, it wasn't selling itself as Squid Game because it didn't want any sort of leaks. It was called First Man. But when they asked me to then self-tape for it, the dialogue they sent through to self-tape was recognizably dialogue from the VIPs from the first season of Squid Game. So I looked at it and thought, oh, well, okay, maybe, I knew there was just a Korean thing there, but I still didn't think it was Squid Game. I thought maybe they're just using that as some sort of, they've got that available. Everyone's familiar with that. They're using that. And then I didn't hear anything for, I think it was a couple of months. And then they got back to me and said, they want me to play this part. And this is Squid Game. And to be honest, for a long time, I was like, you're lying. This is not Squid Game. This is no. This is not Squid Game. This is some sort of cheap knockoff. This is like some sort of fan film or something like that. That's what it is. And that's fine. But I
would have been the same way too.
Like which one of my friends is trolling me right now?
No way.
Exactly. But no, it was. And then I think because it was one of those weird things where we were filming, we basically had to film at different times of the year. We filmed in February 2024 and then in May. And in February, it was a very short filming timetable for that. And I didn't really get the contract until literally a few days before I was meant to fly out there. They sorted other things there, but up until that point, until I got the contract and saw it, I wasn't really convinced this was ever going to happen. I think a lot of my family and friends were like, you're going to fly out to Korea without a contract? They might just kidnap you. This might be some sort of weird trafficking thing going on here. But no, they got that to come through, and then I flew out there, and I flew out in February for 1 day's worth of filming, and that was the day from episode 3, the very first scene we did, which is in the hide and seek set. So I flew out for that for 1 day's worth of filming. Did a costume fitting for future scenes. Did a 3D mask fitting there to get so the mask fitted perfectly for when we did those scenes later on, and then flew back again. So very, very quick. And I realized after the fact that this was because the way they were filming it, they built these huge sets for these different, parts to do. But then they had to then tear them down and build a completely new set in there as well. So I imagine that when we filmed out for February, we were there for when the cast had just finished filming the hide and seek stuff there.
Okay.
But they probably hadn't filmed the skipping rope at that point.
Yeah.
So flew out for that February, and then literally it was May. Went back out there to fly out, and then did the rest of the VIP stuff in the VIP lounge.
Yeah.
All those things there, and they built the sets for that, and the VIP lounge, where you're sort of sitting in your chair and just watching the thing.
Big ass glass window, and it's just like all this crazy space of room.
Yeah,
I love Squid Games.
It's an amazing set. I mean, it's a beautiful looking set, absolutely beautiful.
I was able to talk to from season 1, John D. Michaels. He was one of the VIPs on that season. I talked to him like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, on another podcast, and for about an hour, and he was, telling his little stories about that. He stayed in Korea for like, I think a year or two, like to do more films and stuff like that out there. And then he came back to the United States. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I think the other actors that were playing the VIPs for my one, I think there was certainly a couple that were based in Korea. There was one, Jane, who was based in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And there's myself. And then there was Kevin. Now, Kevin was the other American VIP, another bald VIP. He's not an actor. He's the lawyer for the director and the main actors. He basically was the one who managed to get them their money for the second and third season, because the first season the director made no money from that, but for the second one, third season, he made money, and this is because of Kevin. He's a obviously entertainment lawyer based in America, and the director really wanted him to play a VIP because of that. He was like, "You got to be a VIP." And Kevin, I think he was a bit reluctant. He was like, "I'm not an actor. I don't do that type of thing." There, but the director was insistent. He wanted him on set. So yeah, that's why Kevin was there. So it was an experience. Just with him, it was all work finding out about that. Yeah,
that's funny. So tell us more. When you're in the VIP room and you're sitting and you're filming this, like, how was the experience with everyone else sitting there, and working with everyone and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it was an odd experience. I think we all found it a little bit weird. It was obviously they'd been filming for 11 months. It was right towards the end of their thing. The crew had been through a lot, and they were coming to the end. You could tell they wanted to get to the end of this point. So the only actor I got to work with was the front man, Lee Byung-hun. Yeah. Which was great because obviously I've seen him in American films and things like that, so it's that's great. He was loved the fact he was there and everything. But the other cast members by that point, I think they'd gone.
Yeah,
they disappeared. So we were basically just there with ourselves really, and they had some supporting artists there playing guards and things like that. And then we had these really nice models who had been just coloured up and everything. They were playing our footstools. So if you see there, we were resting our feet on these poor models.
Someone's got to do it.
Well, I know. I mean, the makeup of it was really lovely for them, but I felt a bit sorry for them. I have to admit, I couldn't be as vicious as my VIP. Every time I had to rest my legs on this model, I was constantly trying to lift my legs up so my full weight wasn't going on, because I felt too bad for it.
I would have done the same thing.
So it was odd because that was a huge set to be in. And I think, I mean, from what I gather from what the VIPs from the first season said, they found it a little bit difficult trying to do dialogue when you're speaking over such a large area.
Yeah.
To make it sound a little bit more, well, I suppose more natural and a bit more sort of conversational. So that was a bit of an odd one there. It wasn't so bad for that. I'd done a lot of theatre, so I naturally project anyway, to be honest, a lot of the time. But it was one of those things where the dialogue was sometimes a little bit odd to say. Sometimes, and it was one of those things that after the fact I sort of regret that we didn't spend more time just checking with the director and going over maybe a few changes that might have been a little bit more natural.
Yeah.
Especially in February. In February, when I went out there and did that first scene there, I was so just, overwhelming being on that set and being around and being involved in something like this, that I was never going to sort of say anything about the dialogue I had to say. But then when my first line is "Mamma Mia," it was like, how the hell do I say that in a way that's natural? And yeah, so that was the one thing I sort of regret about not having that opportunity. But yeah, they were moving so fast; they had to get this done so quickly, and it was one of those things where you just tried to make what was written down sound as natural, and tweaking it slightly so that it would, sound even more natural. But I understand it. English is not his first language. It wasn't a thing that he was comfortable really writing.
Yeah.
And I think what's going to be interesting is when Squid Game goes to America. If David Fincher's doing this spin-off season thing that's happening.
So they are making another one.
As far as I'm aware, I haven't anything. This is no sort of exclusive on my part. As far as I'm aware, I think there is something that's going to be started filming at the end of the year. Now, I don't know whether someone like Cate Blanchett is still going to be involved in that aspect, or whether she was just a sort of a fun cameo for this. But I think they are definitely doing it. But it will be interesting to see how the dialogue works differently in America. I think the VIPs are going to be done in a slightly different way when it comes to the American one. I think they sound a lot more natural. So it should be interesting to see how that works there. And obviously, if David Fincher's watching now or listening now, and he wants to get a VIP from the previous season involved, then I am available. Okay.
Yeah. Just gonna say, I really hope that you're involved in the American one. If they do, Mamma Mia.
Yeah, Mamma Mia, exactly.
I'm all trying to think how to say it.
So how was that culture shock when you flew out there? I mean, I've never been anywhere around the world, so I don't know.
I've been lucky to travel around the world a fair bit, but I've never been to Korea before, and it was a little bit overwhelming and a bit daunting, especially because the rest of the cast were people that I was working with, playing the VIPs, were much more familiar with Korean culture. They'd lived out there or they'd worked out there a little bit more themselves, so they knew what to expect a bit more, and I didn't. And where we were shooting, which was towards the top of South Korea, it was a sort of city that wasn't tailored towards to tourists. It wasn't a tourist city really. So even sort of moving around there and everything, by myself, I didn't feel overly comfortable there. But then when we finished and we had a day off, we went back to Seoul, and I could walk around Seoul very comfortably. That was a city that was very easy for me to feel, no problems walking around at all. And so that was, it was a little bit. I think because I was at such a short space of time, I think it was one of those things that I felt that I didn't really get to embrace the whole thing, but I, loved the opportunity to go out there again just to experience it. But it was a nice place to be. One thing I really couldn't get my head around was the food. I'm a guy of easy need, basic needs. But when it comes to breakfast, I just like toast, coffee, maybe some cereal, and I really couldn't I couldn't get to grips with having rice and and just sort of a spicy sauce that goes with rice as well and everything, and those sort of things. There, things that for me that wasn't a breakfast meal for me, so that was just really difficult for me to sort of deal with. But that's just me being a boring Westerner who's not travelled enough to really experience that. So
I don't think I would adjust well either. But
yeah,
no, it's different. I've been to Japan and the Philippines, Vietnam, and I mean I like food, I like to eat. But when I went to the Philippines, same thing. Like breakfast was like rice or like egg over some meat and some chili sauce. And I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna eat it. It's it's food. But yeah, complete culture change. Was there like a language barrier involved when you were trying to do the filming? Was that hard?
Well, we had the casting agency who cast me in from Korea. They had some chaperones with us the entire time. So we had a couple of chaperones with us there who were sort of the sort of there's the sort of translators for us a lot of the time as well. I said the director was a lovely guy and he could speak some English, but it wasn't, it wasn't really strong with him. So it was great to have someone there who sort of didn't just really try and translate what exactly he was looking for and what he wanted. So that was really good. And then those chaperones then were great for then sort of taking us out in the evening and taking us for meals. And
I was just going to ask you that. I hope you were taking them around town.
No, they were good for that. They really sort of into us and held our hands out there to make sure that we were comfortable with what we were doing. And that was really nice. And so they were with us all the time, and so that was cool.
Sounds like an amazing experience you had. Really does.
It was bizarre. It was but like I say, it was such a long time. It was over a year and a half before it came out, because at the time they were saying they weren't sure whether it was going to be one big series or whether they were going to cut it in half and make it series 2 and series 3. They hadn't decided at that point. So it was I thought I'd be seen in December 2024, and they're like, no, you've got to wait until June 2025. So that's the horrible thing as an actor. You've got to wait sometimes a long time before you finally see your products there.
It was worth the wait. Well worth the wait. Before you go, I just want to run by one quick thing, because I noticed when I asked about your drawing, you said you couldn't do it because you've been too busy now. So what's going on with your life right now? Before you get out of here, what's happening with you right now currently?
Well, at the moment, I'm sort of waiting for more things to come out. I've been doing a few more short films, things like that. I worked recently with there's a musician called Ren, who's quite a popular online musician there. I did a sort of a video for him for his new project that he's releasing at the moment. So that's cool. But yeah, it's also I moved recently. Quite recently. I was living in Crystal Palace in South London for quite a long time, and we finally bought a house out in Kent. Funny enough, really close to the location where I shot As Nightfalls. So I now live in Kent. So it's just getting sort of everything comfortable in the house and getting sorted there, really. But yes, always things on the horizon, but never know what the next thing's going to be, really.
That's right.
2 things. One, please make sure you tell me when that Ren project comes out, or the one that you're involved with, like the video or whatever it is, because
that's already out.
But
that's already out. You can watch that online. He basically did some sort of video stories for his more recent song, which I think was Vincent's Tale. He did some things for that. So I'm involved in those things there. So you can watch those already online.
Yeah, my son's a big fan of him, so I got to show him that. And then also, I know you've been busy with moving and all that stuff like that. And so like, what's like the thing that like turns off your brain, like when when you're like not doing projects, you're just kind of like hanging out.
Your shutdown time.
I don't have enough shutdown downtime. That's the problem. The drawing is the thing there. So actually, I really need to get back into that again because I need that shutdown time. I need to really find a way of just relaxing and enjoying my downtime a bit more. I'm always thinking next thing. I'm always, like most actors, you're always looking at loading lines for a tape, a casting tape, things like that, or you're thinking about things, or you're trying to apply for things. But I need to find a bit more time for myself, and I think my wife would agree that I don't give myself enough time. So that's go back to the drawing, I think, and start doing some drawing again.
Yeah, literally get back to the drawing board, huh?
Exactly, that's the one.
My guilty pleasure is trash TV. I don't know why I love this reality TV. I don't know why I love so I'm like, at least my life's better than theirs, I guess.
Jesus Christ.
Again, we'll wrap this up. We really appreciate you jumping on, and
it was great. It was really great talking to you.
I love you talking to you guys as well.
And we will catch you on the flip side.
Yeah, keep us posted with any information of any new things you got coming out, because we would definitely love to see your work. And,
no worries.
And I know I for sure definitely hope that you get in the Squid Game's American series. Would be amazing. Even if you're like some kind of like cameo or something like that.
Yeah. No, I want to be in the game this time. I think the VIP should be in the game this time.
That's right. Yeah, I'm gonna vote for that.
Or I would love to see you in a zombie.
The VIP's in the game. It's time.
All right. This is the Boo Crew. We will sign off.
That's right.